Section 4, Hell and the Lake of Fire, Chapter 26. So, what about hell? When fear becomes the foundation. We've journeyed through questions about belief, choice, the end times, and resurrection. But now we come to perhaps the most emotionally charged topic of all. It's time to tackle the question that makes even the boldest theologians uncomfortable. What about hell? The hour we all dread. Imagine you're lying in your bed and your family is all gathered around visiting. Your daughter is sharing with everyone the story about the time that you took her to get her first pet. Everyone is laughing at her funny story and nodding their heads in agreement, as if to confirm that the story fits the character of the person they have loved their whole life. As the laughter ends, she hands you a card that reads, "To my dad." The letter inside is long and beautiful and rich. As you read the words, there is silence. The smiling faces around you are suddenly wet with streams of love and heartache flowing down until they are absorbed by the soft white tissues they all brought in their pockets. As you finish the letter and place it on your lap, you can't speak. Instead, you look each one in their eyes and nod. There is no need for words anyway, because they already know. You love them, and they love you. With the long release of a deep breath, your reality fades to a different scene. Before the judge. Suddenly, you are standing in a large auditorium with what seems like a spotlight right in your face. As a large book is opened in front of you, your knees begin to shake. Your peaceful nature is overcome with fear and anxiety. The figure in front of you shakes his head in disappointment, as if to confirm that what he was looking for cannot be found. Suddenly, on what looks like 1,000 video screens, you recognize the video that is playing. Scene after scene, every detail of your life is played in a very fast but chronological order. There you are at your first day of school, then your high school graduation, where you gave your big speech, then the birth of your kids. Various moments of your life pass by quickly on the screens until all of a sudden the video slows way down. You are puzzled because you don't even recognize the scene. Very confused, you continue to watch the video of yourself in your recliner flipping through the channels on your new television. Then the doorbell rings and you get up to answer it. Very quickly, you dismiss the gentleman at the door and the video is paused. Every eye in the room turns from the video to you. Then a very deep voice asks you if you remember who those people were. Quivering, you answer, "Yes, they were from the church just down the street. They were inviting me to church, and I said no." The silence is overtaken by the whispering of thousands as they can't help but discuss the situation. "Silence," the figure says. You continue by explaining that you just never believed in supernatural things, especially the idea that an all-powerful being had hand-formed you and all things that existed. Humbly, you ask the figure, "Was I wrong?" Silence filled the room again until it was broken by the reading of the verdict. "Guilty." He closes the book and you are escorted out of the room. You have no idea where you are going, but your gut tells you that it is not good. When did you first learn about hell? I'm going to end the story there because we all know where it is going, and I can no longer stomach the descriptions. The you in this story describes millions of people that have lived good lives, doing well unto others, but for whatever reason, they did not buy the story about the Creator and His Son, and their need to believe in Him. According to mainstream Christianity, this person will be sentenced to an eternity of physical pain and mental torment based solely on the answer to a yes or no question. Did she accept Jesus as her Savior? I'm not for a second going to argue about this with God, because if that is the rule, then that is the rule. What we are going to do is what we have done throughout this entire book. That is, we are challenging those who have assumed they are correct in identifying the rules and consequences, and simply see if their story is solid or if there is another explanation that makes much more sense. The concept of hell has become such a huge part of our daily life that it is hard for us to pinpoint the first time we were even taught about it. Do you remember where you were when you were first introduced to this idea of hell? If I am remembering correctly, it is possible that Yosemite Sam was the first to paint the picture for me. Do you remember the scene where the devil tells Sam that he will let him go if he can just somehow catch a certain wascally webbit? My point is that the concept of hell is so intermingled into everyday things that we never stop to question the validity of it. On top of that, people whom we have trusted have told us that it is definitely real. Did you ever stop and wonder how they know? I asked an old pastor friend of mine that question once, and he told me that when God calls a man to become a minister, he reveals these deep mysteries to them. How convenient! The mainstream Christian teacher knows because it's his or her job to know, and we are not supposed to question it, right? Assuming for a moment that you find this to be as peculiar as I do, where do you think these teachers came up with the idea of hell? Was it the Bible that first introduced them to it? I don't think so. They heard about it the same way most people did, that is, from somebody they trusted. Where did the person they trusted hear it from? Sure, it can be argued that the concept is in the Bible, but my point is that most people believed in hell before the thought to question it ever came into their minds. At least that's how it went for me. By the time I cracked my Bible for myself, I already knew that hell existed and who all was probably going to be there in the end. Then, as I followed along while the preacher read the good book, I saw exactly the picture he was painting, and it made sense. Does hell make sense? Does the idea of hell make sense to you? According to most mainstream Christian teachers, hell is a prison for sinners, and not just any prison, but actually one that is far worse than any prison camp that has ever existed. Think about the scariest scene you have ever seen on television, and then multiply that by 1 billion. Some descriptions that I have heard from people that know a lot about the subject have included details like, of course, fire over your entire body, worms eating your flesh, smells of death, and worse, severe mental anguish, and the sounds of screaming and pain in all directions. When I stop and try to picture this place, I feel physically ill. Why would God create this place? What is the purpose? Is it for corrections? It can't be because it is eternal. Corrections are temporary and designed to correct a problem. Is it for revenge on the sinners? Does God hate it when people make bad decisions so much that he has to torture them forever? Most mainstream Christian members will argue from the point that who burns in this prison is not up to God, but up to the individual who ends up there. That is quite a convenient answer, I think. That argument reminds me of people who do not think consumers should have the right to sue tobacco companies when they end up with lung cancer. They are the ones who made the decision to puff the cancer stick 20 times a day, right? This argument takes all of the blame off of the creator of the problem. If cigarettes did not exist, then no one would die from them. The blame clearly lies with the creator of the drug. So why does God not share in the blame when it comes to hell? He made us human and then expects us to change or else be thrown into a fiery pit forever, and that is somehow our fault? Why isn't this argument used for people who murder their wives? Clearly, if she had not said the wrong thing, he wouldn't have had to shoot her, right? I'm sure he warned her, so it is her fault. Again, let me say that if this was God's way, then that is just how it has to be. But we are going to look into it a little bit and see if by chance somebody has been confused about God's plan. But what if everything we've been taught about hell is based on mistranslations and misunderstandings that have been passed down for centuries? What if the God who is described as love itself never actually created a torture chamber at all? In our next chapter, we'll examine what the Bible actually says about the fate of the dead, and you might be shocked to discover what's been lost in translation.